Alright, let's talk about one of the biggest scams of all time: buying a house. That's right, the thing you've been told your whole life is the ultimate symbol of success. It's a trap. A rigged game designed to keep you in debt forever while making banks filthy rich. And the worst part? You've been lied to about the whole thing. So today, we're breaking it all down. How homeownership became the biggest financial scam in modern history. How the bank set it up to make sure you never really own your home. And what you can do to escape the trap. Let's get into it. Back in the early 1900s, buying a house was something only rich people could do. Mortgages existed, but they were brutal: 50% down payments, 5-year terms, and a giant lump sum due at the end. If you couldn't pay it off, tough luck. Banks realized that this setup limited their profits because only the wealthy could afford it. So they had a brilliant idea. What if we could get everyone to take out a mortgage?
The average home loan size hits new records. Is that such a good idea? Well, here to tell us more is Today Money expert Effie Zahos. Effie, good morning.
How are you, Effie?
Good.
So how much of a difference could this make changing?
Imagine the interest they could rake in if half the population was paying them every single month. So they lobbied the government to make homeownership more accessible, and during the Great Depression, the Federal Housing Administration (FHA) was created. Suddenly,
the FHA loan is insured by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, that's why you'll hear that a lot, who doesn't actually provide the loan. They insure against default for the banks who are approved to provide the FHA loan.
mortgages were backed by the government, meaning banks didn't have to worry about people defaulting. They could dish out loans left and right with zero risk to themselves. This is when the mortgage system as we know it was born. Instead of short, painful loans, banks started offering longer, ones 10, 15, and eventually 30-year mortgages. The longer the loan, the smaller the monthly payment, and the easier it was to convince people to sign up. But here's the catch. These loans were designed to keep you in debt for as long as possible. The 30-year mortgage was a game changer, but not for you. For banks, it was the ultimate money machine. Because of something called amortization, most of your monthly payment in the early years goes toward interest, not the actual loan amount. Let's say you take out a $100,000 loan at a 5% interest rate. Over 30 years, you don't just pay back the $100,000, you end up paying almost that much again in interest. You thought you were buying a home for $100,000? Nope, you're actually paying close to $200,000. And if you move, refinance, or upgrade your home, which most people do, guess what? You start the cycle all over again. Banks know most people don't stay in their homes for 30 years. They count on you moving, upgrading, or refinancing every 5, 10 years, resetting the clock, and keeping you trapped in a cycle of never-ending interest payments. But convincing people to want this deal was the real stroke of genius. Homeownership wasn't just sold as a good investment, it was sold as the American dream for decades. Banks and real estate developers pushed the idea that you weren't really successful until you owned a home. Entire neighborhoods were built around this fantasy white picket fences. Suburban bliss, the idea that a home was not just a place to live, but a status symbol. And it worked. People lined up to sign 30-year contracts that would keep them in debt for life, thinking they were making the smartest financial decision ever.
The gurus who say live totally debt-free. And there's other people who say cut up your credit cards. And that's good advice for certain types of people. So you should definitely cut up your credit cards if you can't control your spending.
The media, movies, and advertisements reinforced this idea, making homeownership seem like the ultimate goal in life. But behind all the glossy images and emotional appeals, the banks were getting richer, while homeowners unknowingly signed away their financial freedom. Now, let's say you wise up, you realize the banks are getting rich off of you, and you want to pay off your mortgage faster. That's where the next scam comes in: refinancing.
Let's say the property, this is where refinancing comes in. Let's say the property doubles in value over the next 10 years. Let's say you buy it for 200 and then it becomes worth 400,000. Now, that 200,000 pounds uplift, the extra profit that you've got in the house because it's gone up by 200,000, that's your money, right?
Banks love to dangle lower interest rates in front of homeowners. Refinance now and lower your monthly payments. Sounds great, right? What they don't tell you is that every time you refinance, you're resetting your loan starting back at year 1 of that 30-year debt cycle where most of your payments go straight to interest. It's like climbing a mountain and being tricked into going back down every few years. You never actually reach the top. And with every refinance, the bank makes money in fees, interest, and closing costs. They want you to think you're winning, when in reality, they are resetting your financial clock and locking in more profits for themselves. And just when you think this system couldn't get worse, guess what? The FHA has already started rolling out 40-year mortgages. Because home prices have skyrocketed and people can't afford even 30-year loans anymore, the solution isn't lowering prices.
Probably the most important consequence economically of COVID is that rich people will accumulate enormous amounts of money. And I genuinely mean enormous amounts of money. We're talking about your average rich individual accumulating 100, 200, 300,000 pounds.
It's keeping you in debt even longer. And if 40-year mortgages don't cut it, don't worry, they'll just introduce 50-year loans. The goal is simple, keep you paying the bank for as long as humanly possible. It's the same scam, just stretched out over a longer period. Meanwhile, wages haven't kept up with inflation, and housing prices continue to rise. People are forced to take on massive debts for basic shelter, all while banks and lenders manipulate the system to their advantage. It's a never-ending cycle designed to ensure you never truly own your home. So, is buying a home always a bad idea? No. But if you're going to do it, you need to be smart about it. Only buy if you're staying put for 10+ years. If you're going to move in a few years, you're just resetting the debt trap. Renting might actually be a better option. Pay down your mortgage as fast as possible. The faster you get out of debt, the less money the bank makes off you. Avoid refinancing unless absolutely necessary. Look into alternative strategies. There are ways to pay off a mortgage in as little as 5-7 years without increasing your monthly payments. You just need to know how the system works. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Just because a bank approves you for a huge mortgage doesn't mean you should take it. Live within your means and focus on financial freedom over material possessions. Invest in appreciating assets.
Never own more than 5% of your portfolio in any one stock and never more than 20% in any one sector. So you have to make sure that you have a diversified portfolio, never more than 5% in a stock, never more than 20% in a sector. And when the market goes up and down, you won't get hurt.
Real estate can be a great investment, but only if you're strategic. Don't just buy because that's what you're supposed to do. Consider rental properties, REITs, and other investments. Consider alternative financing options. There are unconventional ways to finance a home without falling into the 30-year mortgage trap. Research creative financing strategies that allow you to build wealth faster and with less interest paid over time. At the end of the day, the system is designed to make banks rich, not to make you a homeowner. So if you want to play the game, play it smart. That's it for today's video. If you found this eye-opening, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching.